focusing fits in Japan more easily than it does in the West, because in the West people have to work so hard to bring their attention into their bodies. And in Japan this is very easy. In the time I worked there with individuals, finding the body is not hard there. Little shiatsu and one is already there. So also the bigger thing that focusing comes from, the whole philosophy, fits into Japanese tradition better than it does here, and you will know more exactly how. I will say there is a point of difference that it's worth marking, and that is that there is a tendency when coming into the body to bypass everything and go directly to a peaceful place, or go directly to Hara, go directly to just body. And focusing is halfway in between. It's still body, but it's the body that carries the problem, or the body that carries the situation, the body that does the childbirth, the body that does the everyday orienting in a situation. That's the body that lives the situation. And the one you go to so quickly, directly, that's a peaceful body in the universe past the situation. So I want to mark that we want both places. And focusing is that one that's in the situation. And focusing comes from a philosophy. It's a philosophy, I could say, it's first off, it's my philosophy, and then I would say, oh no, it's a philosophy that I saw that is possible and that you have all seen in some way. It's a philosophy that would understand how experience and concepts relate to each other. And most philosophy is a beautiful specialty with concepts. You might say philosophy is meta-concepts. Philosophy is a way of saying something and also asking, how can I say that? How can I be saying that? And you know that. But what I want to point to is, here is a philosophy that does that, and brings everything we have about concepts, but relates that to experiencing, for which you can also say situations, because the body experiences in situations. Or you can say childbirth, because that's a word that brings the real body in the situation. Or you can say practice. And then I put ... so then we get all of them. You can consider anything that we say, no matter how precise, as also having ... after it, so that we have the precision and then we still have the living that this precision brings. And then the precision, the concepts open the living, they carry it further, they make all sorts of things possible. So nobody should think that this is a philosophy just about experiencing or just about concepts, because it is how they talk to each other, how they inform each other, how each one carries forward the other. And then perhaps I would just want to say 1 minute that all the theories and concepts and methods, including focusing, any method that we force on somebody or push on somebody, any method that we use in such a way that the person disappears and we only have the method, is a violence that we don't want to do to people. Whatever the theory is, or whatever the method is. A method means, I know what I do, 1, 2, 3, 4, no matter who comes. So then a human being comes and I do 1, 2, 3, 4 and I don't even look. That's a violence that we don't want to do to people anymore. But every method, if it is in a conversation with the person, or the situation, or the childbirth, or the practice, or whatever, any method that's in a conversation with a person can help. And there I wouldn't be just with one method. I would say focusing is one way. But any way related to the deep place in the person, when that relationship exists, every method can help. And there, I would say that focusing is really two things. It's the awareness, and to help the person have the awareness that there is in us this deep place where the body brings the sense of living just now. And this is always in the present. It has the past in it, of course, but it is now I feel the past, and now I feel the present. And this place has a rightness to it, a bodily rightness, like breathing, or like every physical process has its rightness. And yet it has the new situation in it, that just now, or this person here. And there new steps come, and they still have a rightness from the body rightness, even though something new comes, has never happened before. If we can help that level of body awareness become free in a person, where they can speak from that place, then that's the deep part of focusing. And then every method can help, and every concept can help bring it further. And that is a place where people become free. Inside they become free. Outside may be all kinds of stuff, but inside, there they become free. And so we try to free the person not only from the outside violence, but also from the inside violence that they do to themselves. So when they treat themselves with a theory, or when they treat themselves with a method, or when they treat themselves in such a way that they push that away and they have only left how I'm supposed to be, or so, then it doesn't pay just to tell them back what they're saying. Then we want to help free them from there. And so we have focusing instructions. But of course we have to use the focusing instructions in this focusing way, otherwise we are doing again the violence. So we need the focusing instructions to be in the conversation with this person now. And if this person does not find that level now, then we need to hear where they are now and what they are saying now. And if they say the same thing 20 times, then we need to hear the same thing 20 times. And we can try each time, is there not a deeper edge here that you mean? But we go with them wherever they go, because if we push focusing in the old way, then that will be the same thing and it will not really be the point. If a therapist simply says, sometimes say once every 2 or 3 sessions, at some point when something important is being talked about, what does that make for you here? With the hands pointing somewhere at the stomach and the chest. About half the clients will be a little startled, but keep a little bit quiet, come in there, and speak from there. And the whole therapy will be deepened, just from that one moment of saying, what comes for you here? The other half of your practice will look at you funny and say, what did you say? And then you can say, never mind, that's all right. You were just telling me about your mother was born in 19-something, and you can just bring them back where they were. This is a very quick way for a therapist to find out, even tomorrow, what good focusing is. It doesn't mean you have to understand it in yourself. Just try it. Many people can do that right away. In a more general way, I could say focusing was designed originally for those clients who we found were predictable failures because they did not refer inside. Or, and I think the finding at the time was just that they did not refer inside. And that is one type of what I call a dead end in therapy, where the client goes around and around and around, and there are never any openings for a therapy sort of process. They say this and this happened and I was unhappy about it, and then when you say, tell me more what it means for you unhappy, they say, well, wouldn't anybody be unhappy when this happens? Aren't you unhappy when this happens? And then it doesn't go any further. Or there may be some impossible thing. I just cannot do this, or I don't have the courage, or I'm afraid, or what. And then it just goes around and around. And pretty much every session you hear approximately the same thing. Or you may argue, depending on what your method is, present some better way, and then it doesn't work, and it just goes around, and it's stuck. And one quick way, if your therapy is not stuck, by the way, to get it to be stuck is to have an argument with your client. That's a good way to get it stuck. But many therapies are stuck on that level of repetition of the same stuff. The other way that therapies are often stuck is they are deeply emotional. And people cry, or they pound the table, or they have big fear and whatnot, but it keeps being the same emotion all the time, over and over again. Those are two kinds of stuck places that we all know as therapists, happen in every practice. And focusing helps with those. Nothing human helps all the time with everybody, that we admit from the start, but focusing helps a great deal with those, because it brings people to this place here, which is underneath their concepts, underneath the words, or you might say behind the words, or around the words, anyway like that. And there we have little ways that a therapist can point there. Doesn't mean you have to stop everything and say, now I give you focusing instructions. That's the one way to do it, but you can also take just what somebody says and say, I think you have a sense there of something. And or I think something in you doesn't want to. Or am I hearing it right? There's something there you don't know yet. Or there are many ways, I can't say them all now, of pointing to such a place, and it sometimes brings a person there, slowly sometimes over the weeks. Somebody who, if you say, what do you feel here? They say, what do you mean? Will find it. And that is also true with the emotional, because the focusing place is not away from emotions, it's just a little further. It's like, yes, you are afraid. And then to help the person below the fear is a wider, something wider. The fear is there, yes, we're not denying that. But there is something wider, something uncomfortable comes with the fear, something like that, something you don't know yet, something funny, something that has no words, and there focusing starts. That can show us the wider thing I want to talk about, that there is always a more, that no matter how precise and sharp and conceptually right we have formulated something, there's always a more. There's always, for us also, that wider something, that under or behind sense that yes, this says it, this is true, this is objectively true, it's tested, or also it speaks for me even, but there is always a wider place underneath where my body is being spoken from, or perhaps not spoken from, and I can check and look there and say, what I just said, does that say? Or no, or whatever, and there's always a more, and there's always a wider, and there is a way to connect the concepts and the words with the wider. One of the characteristic and important things about focusing is that, of course, it's something that's in anyone. It's something that I found. It's not something that I invented. I only made little steps so that it can be found more easily.